We have some breaking news to tell you about on a story we've been covering here all week. Since we've been on the air, dozens of news outlets covering the Defense Department have left the Pentagon after refusing to agree to and sign the Trump administration's new demands that significantly curb access to and the ability to report on and cover that building, the Pentagon, and the men and women of the military. The people refusing to sign include Fox News, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's former place of work. A Pentagon reporter from the AFP posted this photo of journalists on the steps of the Pentagon after handing in their badges that gave them access to the building. A correspondent from Reuters tweeted this, quote, "The physical Pentagon bureaus of Reuters and virtually every other news organization are now officially closed. But we will continue to cover the Pentagon fairly and aggressively from outside the building, holding the U.S. military accountable." We're back with Rachel. I know you got everyone's attention, the world's attention, with your open a week ago Monday about how authoritarianism is here. It's not on the horizon. It's not something theoretical that you and I both covered in the months leading up to the election. It's not a question before the voters. It's what they have ushered in with the reelection of Donald Trump. And this is, chapter one, shutting out the free press, shutting out access to the truth about the military.
Yeah, but this is also a really important chapter in what it means to stand up to authoritarianism. Nicole, we have talked about the fact that, the people have been brave. Individual Americans, the people who you're going to see out this Saturday at the No Kings protests, the people who you've seen in every state of the country almost every day of the week taking some act of protest against Trump, those folks have been brave and principled and unafraid. The cowardice that we have seen has been from institutions, and that includes media organizations and news organizations, where we've seen executives over and over and over again make cowardly and craven decisions to try to appease Trump or please him in some way in the hopes that maybe that earns you another day of being allowed to operate at his pleasure. It's just been disgusting what we've seen from the most important and valuable corporations in this country and law firms and universities and all the rest of it. In this case, we've got all of those Pentagon reporters with their news organizations behind them standing up and saying, no, we are not stenographers. We are not going to work under strictures where we are only allowed to write down what you tell us we can write down. That's not journalism, and we're not going to do it under those terms. We'll do it some other way. We'll give up these bureaus, these physical bureaus inside the Pentagon, sure, and that is a compromise, absolutely. We will find other ways to do this work, because you keeping us here while we only write what you want and approve us of saying would have us working here as your lackeys rather than working as journalists, and we're journalists. I find this to be incredibly inspiring, and I don't know how it's going to result or how it's going to resolve in terms of what happens with that press space inside the Pentagon. But when journalists and the news organizations that employ them stand up like this, particularly ones on the right, it is a good sign about the self-respect and vision and values and bravery of people who are really important to the health of our democracy. I think this is a really good sign.
Do you think it's happening because it's the military, or do you think it's happening because there's something different about the Pentagon press corps?
I think it might be happening because news organizations have realized that it's really embarrassing to cave to Trump. I think that, that we haven't necessarily, I think the Trump administration, people who are working for him, know what they're trying to do. I think they are trying to impose one party permanent rule, getting rid of American democracy and for all intents and purposes, and having an authoritarian takeover of the country. I think they know what they're doing. So are they susceptible to changing their minds because of people protesting and calling them out for what they're doing? Maybe not at this point, although I think people are going to keep chipping away at it. But every other institution in the country that is public-facing in particular, whether it is a company, whether it is a news organization, whether it is a professional organization of every kind, I think people have now gotten the message that it is a humiliation, and it is something that you cannot live down until you change course and change your mind to bend the knee to this guy. And so I don't think anybody, any self-respecting news organization knew that they could accept these sort of rules and leave their reporters in there under these these Orwellian rules. And so I think that the weather is changing, and that institutions know it's not a good look to capitulate to this guy and to this insane stuff they're demanding of people in this country anymore.
It's something that Martin Sheen said on Saturday at our MSNBC Live event. He said, this is fleeting. And the idea that people think that this will be the weather, to use your word, forever, and that it won't at some point be the most hideous brand ever to be. I mean, imagine being Paul Weiss, right? The first law firm that capitulates to Trump. That won't always be a good look. But they will have always gone first. Yeah.